Jerry Neuheisel has added a new wrinkle to the ongoing Nico saga.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth. Is Bama just automatically winning this week? I am not so sure. BYU should be careful. Georgia's on upset alert. I guess that's what Vegas says, all on today's show. First, though, Zach Anderson-Yaxheimer of Locked On UCLA is here. And I was pondering this angle the other day, Zach, that the last time we discussed Nico, it was amidst the Deshaun Foster chaos, downfall, 0-4, this is horrible. He's going to wind up in the portal again. And that, I think, is still a possibility. But Jerry Neuheisel is kind of a vibe. And I just wonder, he's from the LA area, Nico Iamaleava, that is. Does he want to stay? Is this the first step, this shocking win over Penn State? Is that the first step towards making him a foundational piece of the Bruins rebuild?
I mean, it would be a foundational piece, or it's the foundational piece to his NFL draft stock rising significantly at the end of this redshirt sophomore year, because he can still leave. If he balls out and an NFL GM's like, imagine if you have like a real O-line and you're like, oh, like we can protect him and give him a year or two to develop at the NFL without playing right away, he might take that opportunity. Like, who would you put as your top two QBs in the NFL draft right now that aren't hurt or have injury history coming into this year?
Dante Moore is pretty high on that list if he were to decide to come out, and I don't know that that's a guarantee because Oregon, no matter how this season ends, will offer him a sizable NIL package to come back and play another year of college football with how he has looked so far. So coming into this year, I would have said Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, their stock has plummeted. Maybe their physical traits and Drew Allers could get them taken, but man, Nico looked pretty special on Saturday.
And he's kind of, yes, we give him all the crap, we give him all the criticism, but he's kind of playing as a one-man team in a sense, right? Like, there's not a big O-line. There's not a lot of receiving help. There hasn't been a running game outside of him himself. And I've been critical of some of the throws he's made, but he made some big-time runs. He made that team go. And obviously, everybody played a big factor for that game, play calling, offensive line. But he either earned himself an extra $1 million in the portal, he either earned him an extra chunk of change here at home at UCLA, or he might just go to the draft, and I think that's a serious consideration if he plays that well at the end of this year.
I hadn't really pondered that angle. It's easy to forget. He redshirted at Tennessee, played there for a year. This is year 3. He will be draft eligible, but there is something to be said as well, for raising your NFL draft stock with continued play in college. I think that we see more NFL teams valuing that, rather than the guys that just start and pop. I mean, if he were to get taken in the draft, be it in the first round or elsewhere, he wouldn't start for a couple of years.
He better not. No. I mean, he's good.
He hasn't played very much football.
No.
He really hasn't. So then let's say he views the issue as you and I do, that it's beneficial for him to be in college at least next year for his NFL draft potential. Is UCLA the place where he's going to play?
You would, obviously, his camp, considering this is the same thing to Tennessee, would have to be promised that the O-line would be much better than it is in 2025. If it's not, then there's really no reason to be the starting quarterback at UCLA. Like, I enjoy what he did against Penn State. I believe that there's, maybe even better things to come in this year if there's still a positive swing to this season. But in reality, the O-line has to be better. And why would a quarterback want to play behind a mediocre O-line? As good as they played against Penn State, we have to see it. So it really depends how this season plays out. If Jerry Neuheisel and the new play calling, a new wrinkle in the offense, prove that Tino's system wasn't good for Nico, there could be a reason to believe that, Nico could stay. But who's that coach? There's so many interesting factors now with the new window in January. There's a lot of factors here that I would like it to be a foundational piece. I criticize him here, but I'd still like him to stay. I just don't know if that's realistic considering the track record.
Maybe the most likable coach right now in all of college football that's not a head coach is Jerry Neuheisel. I mean, he's, 17 years old out there
33.
calling.
The only guy who looks younger than Spencer is Jerry Neuheisel.
Yeah.
We need to be on your skin routines.
He's doing great things for people like me. The babyface community thanks him for his service and appreciates the work that he has put in over the last 10 days. I wonder if he's figured out how to use the headset or how to call plays. Everything about that is so wild and just makes it even more embarrassing for Penn State.
You think his dad would have told him a couple of things? Like, hey, Rick, what'd you tell your son? Well, hopefully I figured he'd know how to use the headset, but apparently you don't.
Well, I bet the headsets have changed a lot since Rick was there.
I mean, yeah, but, you should be able to realize that the headset should be down. That's broadcaster coaching 101. Talk with the headset down. Like, just keep it down. At least cover it like this. I don't know. Like,
yeah. I think that whole story makes it all the more bizarre. And let's also remember, Tim Skipper was the interim head coach at Fresno State last year and is not a brand new guy in the college football space. Do you think that he and Jerry Neuheisel the rest of the year are the interviewing coaches for the UCLA football job?
It depends how long this transformation continues to take place. If this was a one game, superstar moment, we will take this in a 1-11 season, and I don't think you can dunk on us because we beat Penn State, right? I think we'll be like, all right, 1-11, but we beat a top 10 team. If it's they get bowl eligible, that's something you just don't do with this team because this UCLA team was horrible the first 4 weeks. You know it. I know it. Everybody knew it. They were one of the worst teams in the FBS and Power 4 level. They were down 3 scores to Northwestern. And then they come out, and you could argue it was a fluke. I don't think the way they physically pushed around Penn State was a fluke in that game. Obviously, an onside kick went their way, but the Bruins ran it down Penn State's throat, like dominantly. Although they didn't spy Nico. I don't know why they did.
I think that said more about Penn State's mental preparedness for the game.
But, I mean, UCLA, it didn't matter if you're prepared. They'd run right through the O-line prior to the few days with 2 days of changing the game plan, new offensive play caller. Like, they gave 2 to 3 days to implement a game plan, and the O-line played well. So maybe it's a new system. Obviously, they won't have the element of surprise. They're probably not onside kicking. So if they go to Michigan State, win, or just look strong and continue to do so, and hey, maybe this was a Deshaun Foster and Tino issue, then yes, I would think they would have a clear shot at the job. But do you really want the interim, whether he was with Deshaun for a year or 2 months? Jerry Neuheisel has to stay on the staff. He's been through multiple regimes. He's a lifelong Bruin. He's got to stay in some capacity. Tim Skipper with a bowl season, yeah, you almost might have to give him the job and some consideration from being Penn State. But I'm still I don't know if I want to just hand the interim guy. That's kind of what Deshaun was, the guy on the staff to keep everybody together. We might need a new identity for UCLA, even with this win.
Jerry Neuheisel might be the guy to provide that, though, who I'm told is definitely not Joey Molinaro, despite massive speculation.
He needs a shampoo commercial, man. He needs a good shampoo commercial and conditioner NIL for a coach.
I don't disagree. I don't think you can disagree with that statement. Give me a 15-second glance at what to expect after the big win. They go on the road to East Lansing against a Michigan State team that really needs a win.
This is a real look at UCLA if they can make a consistent effort to be strong up front. It's not about how Nico plays, it's how the O-line and the D-line play. If they dominate Michigan State, who is dominated by Nebraska at keeping Aiden Childs upright, then this is a realistic thing UCLA can sustain for the rest of the year. Can they keep Nico upright? Can he run without a spy watching him? Then I think this would be something sustainable. If not, then Penn State just should fire James Franklin right away.
15-second snapshot in 60 seconds. Zach Anderson, Yoxheimer, locked on UCLA. We're going to the SEC, the end of the Big 12. Upset alerts are right around the corner. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes are sweating all the details. Mazda brings that same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Nappa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, Mazda's got it all. With all-wheel drive, standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the players of your favorite team, Mazda sweats every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. UCLA showed us that last week. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode also brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. Check them out at monarchmoney.com. Upset alerts are so real this week. They're all over the place. This is one of those weekends of college football you don't want to have other plans. Don't go to fall weddings. Don't plan fall weddings. Fall weddings are an abomination to the college football society. They are insulting to college football fans, frankly. So let me start with Alabama and Missouri. I love this game. I love this game for several reasons. Number one, we are still fully, I think we know Alabama is back-ish. They're not all the way back. They're not into highest of vibes territories I talk about with my assessment of what a fan base's mood should be. They're definitely enduring good vibes. You win at Georgia, you beat Vandy at home, you look good doing it. Yeah, the vibes are good. The vibes can go up a solid notch if Alabama beats Missouri. I like Missouri a lot. I have them in my top 25. I don't just have them there, as most people do. I have them inside my top 10. Coming into this game. Alabama, according to our friends at FanDuel, is a 3.5-point favorite. Number one thing I'm watching in this game, can Alabama defend the run? We know Bo Pribula can run the football. Missouri's offense this year has been electric on the ground, well over 200 per game. And Alabama, over the last couple, has given up 180 yards rushing per contest against Georgia and Vanderbilt. Missouri is that sort of offense. If you don't know about Amari Hardy, you need to learn. This is one of the most explosive backs in all of college football. And Bama has been susceptible over the last couple of seasons, and it's strange to see, but this is not Nick Saban. This is Kalen DeBoer. They have not defended the run very well, particularly in some big spots. And if you can't do that on the road, Missouri can open things up. This is a Missouri team that passes the eye test. So far, I'll talk about their schedule angle in a moment. But one of the reasons you watch them and you come away impressed from Missouri is you go, boy, they look fast. They look. Bo Pribula can move. Who's the running back he's giving the ball to? This will be the first time a lot of you have watched Missouri this year. It won't be for me. I watched them against South Carolina. I watched them against Kansas, a game they trailed 21-6 and came back and just showed how cursed I am with my best bets every week because they covered 6.5 with a late touchdown run. How? With an explosive run. So that's the biggest key for Alabama in this spot. Defensively, they've got to be able to stop the run. Make Bo Pribula, this is a sneaky good quarterback matchup as well, but make him against this Alabama defense, make him beat you consistently throughout the game. If Amari Hardy gets going, I think Missouri will go for 300 yards on the ground if you let them. They're not going to be stubborn in their desire to throw the football. This is not Mike Leach or Lincoln Riley, RIP, Mike Leach forever and always. This is not one of those offenses that can, look back on a game and go, yeah, we should have run the ball more. Nope, they'll just keep giving it to them. It's a mark of a good coaching staff. Not always as common as you think, but I don't think they're going to outthink the room. But Bo Pribula against Ty Simpson, really fun quarterback matchup in this game. Prebula this year has Penn State fans wishing that he'd stayed in Happy Valley and that they'd done to Drew Aller what Texas did to Quinn Ewers. Now, it's not working out very well for Texas right now, but Prebula looks darn good. This is an undefeated Tigers team that is absolutely a threat to go to the college football playoff, and Prebula is a big reason why. He's completing almost 76% of his passes this year, going for 240 yards a game, 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Those are really good numbers. You contrast that with one of the betting favorites to win the Heisman inside the top 3, according to our friends at FanDuel, Ty Simpson, who threw his first interception last week that was basically a punt. It was a 4th and 1, and it does kind of boggle the mind that Alabama didn't run the ball on 4th and 1. I know you're trying to catch teams off guard, and they were running the ball just fine. But they didn't. They took a shot. You got to throw the football. Vanderbilt intercepts it. Okay. All right. That's the only interception that Ty Simpson has this year. 13 touchdowns against 1 pick. He's going for almost 300 yards a game, and we know that Alabama has played a very good schedule this year. Remember, they had 2 Power 4 non-conference opponents. They played Wisconsin. That was kind of a get-right moment. And they played Florida State, a game that continues to look more and more like a mystery outcome, like Penn State and UCLA, but to a lesser extent, because Florida State, obviously, much better than UCLA. So the quarterback matchup in this game is really fun. Alabama has to stop the run. Crimson Tide favored by 3.5. This, to me, feels more like a pick 'em. Feels more like a toss-up. And it's another game that I have to think of. I'm not making my pick right now. I got to think this one through. My inclination to take Missouri to win the game outright is really high. That's all I will say. Right now, as I'm recording this show, late on Tuesday night, I have got a huge sense of, I kind of think Missouri goes and gets this one done. Bama was at home. They found a way. Georgia gave them a couple breaks a couple weeks ago. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens when the Friday show rolls around. But I love this game. And this is an opportunity for Missouri to prove that they're real. No one thinks they're legitimate because the teams they've beaten that were good when they played them were not teams that anyone had maybe as national title contenders. Maybe South Carolina, dark horse, but they've fallen off and their schedule is getting difficult going forward. So their record's not going to be very good by the end of the year compared to what they maybe were expecting to do before the season. But South Carolina, I still think, is a solid team. I just don't think they're a great team. But those 2 wins right now are not doing a lot for Missouri's resume. It's why they're not ranked as high as I have them in my top 10. Now, I am primarily looking at resume, but South Carolina, preseason top 12 team. And I think deservedly so, and Missouri was just a better football team than them. So I like Missouri. I like Missouri a lot, but it's hard to ignore what Alabama's done. I always thought Kalen DeBoer would do very well with the Crimson Tide. Maybe he's finally got it figured out. But for Missouri, this is an opportunity to legitimize yourself internally and externally for your college football playoff hopes. You could pick up a top 10 win. You'd finally be ranked inside the top 10 in the AP poll, and whenever the college football playoff rankings first come out, really fun game. Let me go to another game that's got upset alert written all over it, and one that I'll have a hard time ignoring. I'm going to talk about Utah and Arizona State this week in the Big 12. Winner of that game will crack my top 25. They're both unranked. So is BYU. Not because I don't think BYU is a good team. BYU's resume is very unimpressive at the moment. Their best win is probably at Colorado in a game they struggled, or Stanford, or East Carolina, or Portland State. You see where I'm going with this? BYU so far, I'm kind of in a, let's wait. Because I did pick them to start hot, and now they get into the actual meat of their schedule. Now, this game didn't look like that against Arizona this week. I'll just warn you, BYU fans, be very careful. Be very careful down in the desert. I have watched games down in Tucson for a very long time. I know this is still relatively new to some of you out there. I have watched games be played down there for a very long time. Wild, crazy things can happen. Arizona did not play as well as they hoped last week on the road against Iowa State. They got exposed a little bit. Now they come back home, dare I say, in wounded animal mode or wounded wildcat mode. And BYU, who's ranked, who's undefeated, against an Arizona team that is neither of those things, BYU's just a 1.5 point favorite. Yeah, that raises alarm bells in my head, makes me go, Vegas knows what I know, which is Arizona's okay. I don't think Arizona's great. We saw that last week against Iowa State, but Arizona at least is okay. Can BYU lose to an okay football team on the road? I 100% believe they can. They almost lost to a pretty bad football team on the road in Colorado. So if the Wildcat fans show up as they should for what would be the biggest win of the Brent Brennan era in year 2, it's going well this season so far. This should be one of those flagship wins that Coach Brennan can look at and go pitch to his donors and the fans, community, and say, hey, we got something here. We're going to succeed. It was bad last year, but it's getting better. It has looked better. It will continue to be better if they continue playing the way that they are capable. You know, Oklahoma State, if they were to pull an upset, they're not capable going for. Arizona's capable. Their defense is better than you think. No, Fafita can still play quarterback. Just keep an eye. And BYU, be very, very careful. I have another team that should be careful. I don't fully understand why, but we're going to explore why Georgia's on upset alert at Auburn. First, this episode brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards, or Saquon Barkley's rushing yards, or Jamar Chase's receiving yards. And you can pick them score a touchdown, not score a touchdown, and it's really easy. And just like that, you're in the game. Plus, you can follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with just one click. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. What is going to happen at Jordan-Hare this weekend? Apparently, we are not mentally prepared. Let's try and get there. Zach Blackerby, Locked on Auburn, here to discuss. Do you have any rationale why Georgia is just a 3.5-point favorite against Auburn that hasn't won an SEC game yet?
Yeah. I mean, I can give you the argument. I don't know if I fully believe it, but allow me to give you the argument.
Please.
Is what Hugh Freeze has said publicly, which I think it's okay if I say this. I don't think the head coach should be saying this, but like, you go on the road to 2 top 10 opponents, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and it's close. And it's close with you having like no offensive success whatsoever. No offensive identity. You didn't do anything. But the defense was so good, it kept you in it. And you did just enough on offense where you had a few moments where like you had a shot, right? You get a bye week, and there's all this push for Hugh Freeze to run the ball more, whether it's with Jackson Arnold or Jeremiah Cobb or Damari Alston. All three are effective runners of the football. I think the hope is, like, if you have just an okay offense with this defense, you can beat almost anyone in college football with what they've done so far based off of that. Also, Cam Newton retirement night. They're retiring his jersey. It's going to be electric. It's at night. And, also, like, once again, I'm just making the case. I don't know if I fully believe it. I'm just making the case. And then the other one would be, in these types of games, Hugh keeps them in it. He doesn't win them, but it comes down to the last drive. I mean, Alabama and Georgia at Jordan-Hare Stadium, his first year. We saw a few instances of it last year. So he keeps them in it. He just hasn't been able to fully close the door and, say, hey, you're not going to come back and beat us. Missouri last year, Oklahoma. So, I mean, we'll see if he's able to do it this week, but that's the argument. That, once again, is that all valid? I don't know. We'll find out on Saturday.
Yeah, I think at home, off a bye, good defense. I suppose I still think 3.5 is a low. I would have thought 5-ish. I would have thought.
I like to guess it beforehand on my reaction show.
Yeah.
I was thinking 9.5.
Whoa. That's.
Yeah, I was thinking
a
hair over a touchdown. I was thinking 8.5, 9.5, maybe 7.5.
I don't know if I would have gone that high at Auburn, I don't know if I would have gone that high. By the way, this is probably just a me thing, but you said Cam Newton, and then the first three letters of your next word were R-E-T, and I thought you were about to pull the wildest NCAA lawsuit for eligibility story and break it right here on Locked On
awesome?
College. That would have been something.
We're expecting Cam Newton to suit up.
Yeah.
I'd pick Auburn then, my guy. That's for sure.
That's all Auburn needs, really. But when you dive into this game, Zach, the Georgia offense to me is more impressive than the Georgia defense so far this season. And it's not that I don't think Georgia can be good on that side of the ball. I just watch them each week and feel like, boy, they made a couple mistakes against Alabama that cost them, but they feel like they're just further ahead over there. Do you think there's an opportunity for, and this is a weird thing to say, but Vegas clearly doesn't think it's that wild. At home, off a bye against Georgia, is this an opportunity for the Auburn offense to get into a flow?
Yeah, it is. And because it's not about talent, right? Normally we talk about like, okay, where's the mismatch? Like Cam Coleman's a mismatch. Eric Singleton's a mismatch. Malcolm Simmons being the third receiver on the field is a mismatch. You just haven't been able to figure out how to get them all the football evenly and the balance between running and passing. You have the personnel to run the football. So yes, it could happen. It absolutely could happen. You mentioned the Georgia offense. Gunnar Stockton has not started a game in an environment like this before. How much of the game
he went to Tennessee this year.
Okay, but that game was early, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't a night game. This is a night game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean that's different. But
I think Jordan Hare will be louder. That's just my prediction. No,
I will not come on these airwaves and throw shade at Rocky Top. You may do whatever you like. It's you.
I'm not throwing shade at Rocky Top. I think Auburn has like an incredible home atmosphere, despite what their team has done on the field. Auburn fans show up, and it's an expensive ticket because of all the Cam Newton stuff. Like they're there. They're there to be excited and root on the Tigers.
Okay, so give me two ways that Auburn wins this game.
They make it messy, and the Auburn defense does what they're certainly capable of doing, and they make it where the Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze, they don't have to score a ton of points. They find a way to win this game 17-14 or something like that. That's one of them. The other is the Georgia offensive line is banged up. They have not started the same group of offensive linemen, I believe, in back-to-back games this year. Auburn's defensive front, I think, is good with Keldrick Falk and Kieron Crawford. Malik Blockton's coming on. I think that's a matchup that favors Auburn. And so making Gunnar Stockton uncomfortable, I think, is something that could happen.
How badly does Hugh Freeze need to win this game?
That's such a tricky question. Can you add more context to that question? Are you asking the firing question? Are you asking if he's coaching for his job on Saturday?
What will the average Auburn fan's mood be if Auburn loses this game 21-17?
Another close one. So they're frustrated, right? And they're going to be frustrated when in that situation, Hugh Freeze would go and say, we're so close. We're so close. And it's like, you've been saying that since you got here. So in that situation, they would obviously be crushed, frustrated. There's different ways that 21-17 could look for sure. Did you blow a lead like you have in other years? Did you crawl back, or is it this back and forth thing? I think there's different ways that could look. But this notion that he's coaching for his job, I don't agree with.
I don't think this week, but if it's another loss and you start SEC play 0-3, I know it's a tough start to conference play.
Here's where I have to be emotionally and logically consistent, Spencer. I picked Auburn to go 8-4 this year, and I picked them to lose these 3 games and then to go on a run, because it does get easier. It doesn't get easy, but the path does get easier after this week. And we all talked about that throughout the season. It's like, if you could just survive the first half of the schedule. Now, I would argue they haven't really survived it. But if you can just, do what you can, because I think like what they did against A&M or Oklahoma, I think it's good enough to beat Missouri at home. I think it's good enough to beat Arkansas in Fayetteville. I think it's good enough to beat Kentucky at home. Vandy, let's see. In Nashville, let's see what that looks like. And then obviously Mercer. So I can't say like, hey, I picked Auburn to go 8-4, and I would be happy with 8-4. But I also picked them to start 0-3 in conference play. I can't say like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. Now, one thing I did think though was that the offense would be clicking. Like it looks worse, I think, than just the record. And in year 3, I think it's safe to do that when you haven't won either of your first 2 years, and then you continue losing, and like there's no style to it, there's no personality, there's no belief in the system or proof of concept is this term we'd like to throw out. That's the gap that I have a hard time filling.
I just wonder how long can you keep that fight, that drive in the locker room at 0-3? I know it's not a super favorable spot, but in year 3, I don't think it's unreasonable if you're an Auburn fan saying we should have at least one SEC win after these first 3 games. If things are going well, you're 2-0, and if things are going perfectly, obviously you're 3-0 in that spot. I don't think expecting a win. I know that you aren't in that particular camp and you weren't coming into the season. Totally get that. I just don't know if every Auburn fan is going to feel that way, and that they'd be illogical for saying, boy, we should have one right now, because I think you're much better than Arkansas. I would not sleep on Missouri. I think in that conversation, you just
Missouri, and we're going to learn a lot about Missouri this week.
Yes, we will.
Right. So, maybe we have a similar conversation or continue this conversation next week on this show. But, yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's worth talking about Missouri right now. This is going to be the first time they leave Columbia. Like, I think that matters. Like, some of their stats, I think, are a little inflated by situation and who they've played. I'm not saying they're bad. I think they're certainly worthy of the ranking. I think they're very good. Eli Drinkwitz has quietly built a wagon up there.
A little bit.
And I don't think he gets enough credit for it. So, like, I'm not dissing Missouri here, but I do think from a matchup standpoint, if Auburn can get an offense going, they have the defense to keep it close against anybody.
I'm saving my pick for Friday. I got to think on this one. Sometimes I talk about
it's
a game.
It's weird.
It is.
Everything in me says pick Georgia, but there's some weird thing inside of me where it's like, I think Auburn can do this. I haven't made an official pick yet.
When you go against Vegas, it doesn't usually end well. Like 3.5.
Spot on with Auburn this year too.
3.5 tells me, boy, do they know something?
They're begging you. They're begging you to take Georgia.
I think they.
Vegas doesn't lose very often.
This might be not often. No one wins 100% of the time. No one wins 100% of the time. We'll see if I give Auburn the kiss of death and make them a best bet later this week on.
Let me know.
On the show. I will. Zach Blackerby, Locked on Auburn. Great as always. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Love you a long time.